Hi friends, welcome to the Share Report. So if you're new here, thanks so much for joining. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. For those who are returning, thank you so much for being here as well. This video is a little bit different. I wanted to do a little cook with me video because I need to make dinner, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about politics. As you know, there has been an interview between Bret Baier on Fox News and Kamala Harris. And there's also been some interviews with Kamala Harris in the Breakfast Club and some other ones floating around. So I wanted to kind of dive deeper into those conversations, maybe just a little bit, but do some cooking, have some fun, and share a really tasty recipe with you. So, and then you guys can just add your little comments in the comment section. I love reading your comments. I read them every single time. So yeah, so we're gonna just dive right into this video. I'm gonna put on my apron. My mom bought me this apron. I love this apron. I don't really wear it that much because I typically, once I start cooking, I just get to cooking. But I love this apron. It's so cute. It has like little elephants on it and ruffles. But today's recipe is gonna be a South African dish. It's called, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, baboti. So it's kind of like a custard with ground beef, egg, bread. I use sourdough bread because I have to watch what I eat. One day I'll tell you guys my health story, health journey, and all the things. And it has chutney in it, some jam. It's really savory, such a great dish. So we're gonna get started. I'm gonna wash my hands and then we're gonna get started with this recipe. I'm gonna share some things with you and then we'll talk a little politics too. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna start off by chopping up an onion. We're gonna use a whole onion because that's what gives it all the flavor for this South African dish. We're gonna dice it up. I'm gonna throw it in the pan with some olive oil, and then we will let that saute for a little bit, and then we'll add the ground beef. So I already mentioned some of the things that's in this recipe. If you like curry, this is a recipe for you. It is so delicious. It's not my recipe. I will link the full recipe for you. I kind of tweak it as far as seasonings go, and you also add some herbs. I have some fresh herbs in the garden that I want to use. So we will use some of those, but we're gonna first chop up this onion. But one thing that I wanted to ask you guys, did you all see the interview with Bret Baier and Kamala Harris? I think he did a good job. A lot of people in the comment section, they're still blind. They're like, oh, she did such a great job, considering that the commentator, the interviewer, it's kind of rough. Ooh, it's burning my eyes. Was kind of rough. And I was thinking, well, he should have asked her those questions that he did ask her. He asked her about immigration and how many people that were let in over the border, and she could not answer the question. She just would refuse to answer it. And then also, he had asked her, does she apologize? Because over the last 3.5 years, she has been the VP under the Biden administration, and how they had basically failed the border, and how these three or four young women were brutally murdered by people that were released from their policies and for them not securing the border. So I was really impressed with everything that he had asked. Obviously, she couldn't answer them. She apologized for the loss of one of the victims, which I was happy she apologized for that. But she was not answering the question about their failure in regards to having an open border. So that's on a lot of people's minds because people see that that's an issue, especially with this last ordeal with the hurricane Helene with North Carolina, when the North Carolinians were only offered $750 because most of the money went to immigrants. People are starting to see that, and that's a big deal to them. So you can take a little break for a second. So we got our chopped onion. We're gonna go throw them in the pan. Now I like to use a cast iron skillet. You wanna use one skillet for this whole recipe. I'll show you mine. So this is what I use. This is pretty big here. I'm just gonna toss all of my onions in here, let it, saute for a little bit. You put a little olive oil in there. I put some olive oil in there. You put it on medium heat, let it saute like I said. Once it's pretty golden and it's pretty cooked down really good, then you want to add in your ground beef. You're going to add in 2 pounds of ground beef for this recipe. So, all right, I'm going to throw that in there. So while the ground beef is sauteing, or while the onions are sauteing, this is the ground beef. We're going to use 2 pounds. I like to use 100% ground-fed organic ground beef because I like to eat, like I said, as healthy as possible. If you want to use a mixture of pork and beef or turkey and beef, feel free to do that, but this recipe calls for ground beef. So we're going to use 2 pounds of this. But in the meantime, I'm going to play a short clip of the conversation between Bret Baier and Kamala Harris, and then we'll come back on because by then the onions will be pretty much sauteed, as well as the ground beef, and then we can put together the recipe.
Madam Vice President, thank you for the time.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, Bret.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Bret, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have an
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those...
Okay, so you want to go ahead and saute and add in your ground beef. This is some fresh herbs from the garden, basil, fresh basil, and then you can add in some other fresh herbs that you like thyme. But I'm just going to add all of this together. And then you want to season it. I love the cumin. So I'm going to add some cumin in here to give it some flavor. You can do that to your own specified taste. I'm adding quite a bit in there. Obviously some salt because, you know, seasoning your food is very important for it to taste good. And then I also have some black pepper, which I'll add. All right, we'll let that go in there. I'm probably going to add some more herbs in here, some fresh herbs, but we'll let that get to cooking and then we will come back. So as you can see, she was unable to answer the question about how many people have crossed over the border illegally. Actually, it wasn't like she was unable. She just didn't want to answer the question because she knew she was caught, and she knows it is a tremendous amount of people that have crossed the border illegally under the Biden and her administration, which she serves as VP, which is very sad. So I want to dive right back into the recipe again. So for this recipe, you want to get bread. I use sourdough. You want to get about 3 slices of bread, slice it up, get a bowl. You're going to add in some milk in there and let these 3 slices of bread just soak and just absorb in there. So we're going to do that, and then you want to preheat your oven to about 350, 375. So we're going to slice up our bread. We're only going to use a little bit. 3 slices, that's all we're going to use. We don't need very much because it's kind of like a custard. So the bread makes it so tasty. I mean, just extremely tasty. So we're going to add in our bread. in here. And let that soak for a bit. Because we need the bread to help keep the meat together. And plus we will be using some egg. So I like to get my eggs from a farm. They taste the best to me. So I think we are good on bread. So I'm just gonna break this up a little bit so it's easier for me. I'm gonna put the rest of this aside. So I got my bread in here. I'm gonna add some milk. Let this soak for a little bit. Let this soak. And then we're gonna get the oven going pretty good so it's really hot. And then we're gonna add some other key ingredients into the ground beef and onion mixture with all of the herbs and spices in there. So we will do that next. Okay, so there are a few things that you want to add to the ground beef and onion mixture with the herbs in it. You want to get yourself some jam. I have an apricot jam that I'm using, and then a fruit chutney. This is a sweet mango chutney, and then the tomato paste. Now, since we have the jam and the chutney, which has more of a sweet flavor, the tomato paste gives it a balance. So it's not overly sweet. It balances it very well, giving it a very savory flavor, along with all the herbs and the cumin and all the other spices. So it adds a great flavor to it. So I'll add the correct and exact, I should say, instructions for the ingredients. I wing it. There are specifics on how many tablespoons to add. I like to do it my way. It always tastes good. This is like my 5th time making it, and everyone loves it. So we're gonna go ahead and add these into the mixture. So like I said, we're gonna add some of this in here. I'm gonna add about a nice good 1.5 tablespoons of this chutney in here. We're also going to add the jam, which is really good. We're gonna do a couple big spoonfuls of that. And then we're also going to add in the tomato paste, but first we're going to mix this in first so that everything is in there together. I'm gonna mix it, do a little mix. And as you can see, the little green pieces are actually the fresh basil leaves from the garden. And I did a video on how you can start a small garden. This is when having a small garden with, you know, herbs in it is perfect, because you don't have to run to the store. You can just snip it from your own garden, and it's just so perfect. So this is good. I'll do a little more mixing soon. Okay, now I'm gonna add in the tomato paste to give it a nice balance. I'm getting low on this, so I need to add some more pretty soon. And we're gonna mix. All right, next on the list, mix it all together. We're gonna add in the bread that has been soaking. Okay, next we're gonna add in the bread that has been soaking. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the bread and you're going to basically squeeze it out in here and crumble it throughout this whole entire dish. You're gonna squeeze and crumble it. I know it looks like it's just so disgusting, but squeezing it like this, but it is, trust me, so delicious. It's one of my favorite things to make. And it keeps you full for a very long time. So just kind of spread it out like this. And then the excess that's left over as far as like the milk goes, you're going to take this and you're going to add 2 eggs in here and whisk it together and then pour it all here and then mix it together. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so this is the egg and milk mixture. So you're just going to pour this over your entire custard, or beef mixture, and it's going to turn into a custard eventually. So delicious. Trust me, it is so good. And then you're going to just stick it in the oven for about 15-ish minutes, and then you will be ready to serve. So see y'all in 15 minutes.
That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
But
people
you're the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security.
So as you can see, she was unable to even answer the question correctly. He said 79% of Americans think the country's on the wrong track. And she gave some lame excuse that, well, Donald Trump has been running for a long time. And he proceeded to say, but you've been the vice president for the last 3.5 years. So I didn't see the correlation. It wasn't making sense what she was saying at all. But I'm not here to bash on Kamala Harris. She does enough of that on her own. So the thing that I'm focused on right now is how we the people need to get on track and to look at the managers of our business, which is the country. I did a short little video on the Shea Report, just a short one, explaining how the economy is like our business, or the America's like our business, and we the people own the business, and we have politicians as managers managing it, and they're failing. But we keep wanting to hire people who have no experience in anything business related, and they're failing. So no matter who gets into office, it doesn't matter, because the economy has been going down since well before even Joe Biden, well before even Donald Trump, way back. Both Republicans and Democrats have been failing us. So it doesn't matter if Kamala gets in or even Donald Trump. None of them are going to fix this. It's up to we the people to get on board and to flush up all the managers, start from scratch, get things on track. So that's what I wanted to say. I'm winding up this video. Our South African dish is getting ready to come out of the oven. So we're going to go check on that now. So let's go see.
That smells good too.
So this looks so delicious. We're going to cut right into this and give it a little try. It looks so good. This is like my favorite. All right, so it's just so delicious. You guys will love this. Like I said, I will link the recipe with the ingredients, instructions, and everything. It is just so good. I wish you all could try it. So hopefully you enjoyed this very different video. Cook with me with a little bit of politics in there. Maybe I'll do another one. Let me know if you like this. And I'll share some more recipes and cook with me videos, mixed in with all of my other videos that I do with gardening and talking politics. So thank you so much for being here. Be sure to subscribe, share all the things, and thanks so much for your support. See you later.